I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Sometimes, a person's greatest strength is born from the moment they choose to remain silent. And in his silence, Kim Taehyung not only persevered, he grew into a force that made many believe again that falling is not the end. He became a beacon for hearts that had been pushed aside, ignored, or even deemed insignificant. Taehyung stood up not just for himself, but for all who had ever felt abandoned. From his stand, many learned that brokenness is no reason to give up, because we can remain whole, even when the world tries to tear us apart. Now, he no longer needed anyone's defense. The world began to speak for itself. People wondered, why did V seem more alive than ever, while the system that once pushed him to the sidelines began to lose its color? The answer was simple. Honesty was irreplaceable. Taehyung had transcended those who tried to silence him. He transcended those who saw him as merely a number on a report, not a human being with a soul. His future was no longer shaped by HYBE. He was carving it himself. And for some, that reality was terrifying because Taehyung was no longer controllable. He proved that he wasn't just an asset. He was a soul of immeasurable value. One song, one lyric, one sincere smile from him could shake the world. He didn't reach the top because he was pushed, he got there because he chose to rise. Tears may have fallen, but not for public display. He chose to smile, to continue giving, without needing to put anyone down to show his class. If HYBE considered money more important than anything, Taehyung proved that he could leave HYBE and still hold the world in his hands, because he won it with love. He never truly belonged to the system. He belonged to those who believed in sincerity, to those who refused to succumb to lies, to the careful who understood that true fame couldn't be bought, but built, day by day, with the heart. Now, the public no longer waited for clarification. They had seen who continued to shine despite being knocked to the lowest point. Every time Taehyung appeared, full of confidence and without resentment, it was the answer. He proved that wounds don't always hurt. Sometimes they grow wings. And those wings now carry him soaring far above those who once belittled him. To those who abandoned him, Taehyung doesn't respond with curses. He simply offers silence. Because he knows the best revenge isn't anger, it's achievement. And in that, Taehyung has given more than enough. He has become a symbol of courage, not because he fought, but because he refused to be destroyed. He is the answer for those tired of being victims and an inspiration for those who want to rise even if they have to walk alone. Taehyung teaches that abandonment is sometimes the beginning of freedom. And when that freedom arrives, the work that is born will be much purer. Now he is free, free from invisible chains, free to create his own world. Every step he takes now is a subtle form of resistance against the industry that once imprisoned him in a false image. But he chooses not to vent his anger. He responds to betrayal with art. Every song he releases contains blood and tears, but he transforms them into beauty. His fans know that he has endured wounds that he hasn't fully shared. Precisely because of that, their love for him deepens. Not because he was perfect, but because he remained gentle when the world was so harsh on him. He didn't prove himself through sales figures, but through the feelings he evoked. He didn't try to be a legend. He just wanted to remain human. But that's precisely why he became one. While the system continued to operate coldly and without feeling, Taehyung built something warmer: connections. Not connections born of promotions or management schedules, but from heart to heart, from hurt to understanding. Now, the spotlight that had once been taken from him returned on its own. Not because of a marketing strategy, but because the world realized that there's nothing more beautiful than someone who continues to shine after being burned to the ground. Taehyung is both fire and light. He never sought sympathy, but sympathy came from his honesty. He built a stage not from tears, but from undying love. And he exceeded all expectations because he refused to bow to unreasonable demands. People asked why he didn't just leave. The answer lay in his actions. He stayed, not because he was afraid to leave, but because his love wasn't over. Each of his solo projects is a new breath of life. He sings not because he's told to, but because he wants to. He dances not because of an agenda, but because his soul needs space. And the world watches in awe. To those who begin to regret having treated him badly, Taehyung doesn't demand an apology. He's too busy creating beauty, too busy healing the broken hearts of others who come to him and leave with theirs intact. He rarely speaks, but his silence speaks louder than a scream. He doesn't seek recognition, but recognition comes naturally, because the truth will always find a way. Now, he stands on a stage he built himself, without the help of a system, without the protection once promised. He proves that if someone believes in themselves, nothing can stop them. Taehyung no longer looks back. He forgives not because he's weak, but because his heart is strong enough not to harbor poison. Each of his works is not just a product, but a letter from the heart, a message that he's still here, still loving, still fighting. And that letter reaches millions who need his warmth. He's become a symbol not because of titles or trophies, but because he chooses to remain himself. HYBE no longer holds control of this story. It now belongs to Taehyung, written with the ink of courage, the paper of wounds, and a heart that never stops loving. He was once discarded, but he is not trash. He is gold rediscovered, purer than ever. The world has witnessed his rise like the sun returning after a long storm. He is not just an idol, but a mirror through which broken hearts can see themselves, then rise and shine again. Now, the world of K-pop is beginning to feel different. Many who initially viewed Taehyung as merely part of the system are now forced to admit that he is an exception. Not only because of his talent, but because of the way he maintains his dignity amidst the industry's cruel games. Armies from all over the world have made his journey a story they never tire of repeating. They remember every detail, from the moment he was silenced, to the moment he stood back up with the same smile, as if it had never been broken. Even international media are beginning to see Taehyung as more than just a South Korean artist, but a universal figure who represents the struggle against injustice. Many have written about him as proof that authenticity can survive in a world full of fabrications. Fellow musicians silently saluted him. They knew how hard it was to maintain a sense of self when labels and public opinion tried to change you. But Taehyung refused to be anything other than himself. And that's where his strength came from. The industry that once thought it could control everything is now losing its grip. Because Taehyung showed that fan love is far more powerful than any marketing campaign. He's built relationships that can't be bought, and that's what makes him irreplaceable. Every time he releases a song, not only do the charts move, but the hearts of those who once felt alone also vibrate. ARMY knows that every note he sings is part of his story, a story that is now theirs too. And ultimately, Taehyung's rise isn't just about his career. It's about someone who chose to remain true to himself when the world tried to change him. About someone who not only persevered, but also made millions believe that they too could rise. Because ultimately, Taehyung isn't just a K-pop star. He's a guiding light, even for those who never expected to find strength in a man named Kim Taehyung.